I'm so glad to see you. Come in, come in. I've been wanting to ask you this question. Now that you're here, would you come play with me? Yes. Oh, we'll have so much fun. Oh, we're gonna play such wonderful games and. Lilith, get out of me. Oh, sorry about that. As you can see, I'm not quite done with Lilith. Having a small case of possession. Not my first time, really. College was crazy. Anyway, don't worry, I'll get this soon taken care of. Luckily, I have a friend of mine that's on speed dial that happens to be a witch doctor and specializes in this sort of thing. It's always good to know people. Remember that. A few chants, maybe a blood sacrifice, and then she will be out. And after that, she's hell's problem. Come play with me. Sorry. It's almost like indigestion. She just sort of comes up to the surface, but then we just push her back down. Oh. All right, I'm fine now. Anyway, I've kept you long enough. They're in there. They're ready for you. Go on in. Have a good time. Enjoy the show. Come play with me. Excuse me.
What's up, besties? Welcome to the Little Podcast of Horrors. I'm Christina.
I'm Chris.
And I'm nobody special. I'm just kidding. I'm James. I love Autobots. I love Transformers and video games.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I do not sound like that.
That's
was a
exactly.
Now I know how Christina feels when our version of Christina is just generic high-pitched whine.
I mean, no, that's exactly how you sound, James. Like,
I can tell the difference.
yeah. I could call our friends right now with that voice and be like, James, what's going on?
How are you, man? What are y'all drinking?
Well, so I've been saving this for a while because I didn't think I was going to be able to refill it. So in Florida, and just kind of middle of nowhere little distillery, it's like just this, you drive into Chris was with me. You drive into this kind of middle of nowhere industrial warehouse area, and it's just this little distillery that's like a little storefront in the corner of a building, and they have really amazing whiskey and vodka and stuff. So I could only, the thing is, they don't ship. So this is 30A distillery out of Florida. They don't ship anywhere, so you have to be in Florida to get it. So I had these little sample size bottles. This is the last one that it's all you're allowed to fit onto an airplane when I was flying back to Florida. And so I'm having an old fashioned with it, and it's amazing.
Nice.
But anyway, one of our friends is out there in Florida right now, and she's gonna go back out there and hook me up. So I'm gonna have bottles and stuff, and I'm excited because I thought that was gonna be the last of it I ever had.
Who's out there? Is it somebody I know?
Lindley, who we mentioned in our dolls episode.
Wait, Lindley is gonna go and get you
always
booze?
out.
I know she's always out in Florida, but I didn't know well, yeah, because where we were at, we stayed right by her family's condo.
Well, yeah, so distillery you went with me to.
Yeah, remember, we actually finished ours, and I've still got because I bought a glass, and I've got that in my cabinet, and I think we only finished ours a few months ago. I found one of them in the back corner. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
it's the vodka one.
I'm gonna be so sad when it's gone, but now I get to restock, so I'm happy.
Yay. That's good news.
That's nice of Lindley to do that for you.
Really freaking good bourbon.
We've talked about this before. Lindley's the best.
Yep.
When she's not putting creepy dolls in my house.
No, that's why she's the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe for y'all, but I remember y'all being attacked by a possessed doll, so.
Well, earlier Lafayette was like, I think I'm gonna get rid of this sock monkey. And I was like, what? He like pulled out this like red and black sock monkey and he was like, yeah, like a long time ago, me and my friend went up and found this in the road. And then like when we came back later, it was sitting on the porch. I was like, you just like picked up a haunted sock monkey.
What?
It's been living in my house.
He just glazed over that, and we just came home and it was sitting on our porch. We're like, oh, I guess that's what's meant to be. The hell?
I love it. That's my baby. All right, well, I've got the episode today, and we are going to do my favorite genre, old-timey unsolved murders.
Murder.
All right, so today we're talking about one of Scotland's oldest unsolved murders, and that's the murder of Janet Rogers in 1866. Not to be confused with Mary Rogers, because I did do an episode about Mary Rogers.
I remember Mary.
But
What's
this
with
is
the 1800s being so murdery?
I mean, they didn't have forensics, so I feel like
Free for all.
you can just do whatever you want.
I never really would have thought of Janet as a Scottish name. Just be like, Christ, they killed Janet. Shite.
Look how good it sounds though when you do it in a
Oh, that's true.
Scottish accent.
That's right, Janet. How are you doing? They killed Janet. They're going to fucking be.
Actually sounds way better with a Scottish accent than
Yeah,
when
I didn't
say
even
it
think
with my
about that till I
American one.
just did that. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's why.
All right. So, there's not a whole lot of information about like Janet circulating out there, but what we do know about her. So in 1866, she was about 55 years old. She was married. She did have some kids. By all accounts, Janet was like strong-willed. She was well respected, and she was not an easily intimidated woman.
Sounds like a true Scottish lady.
Hmm She was also like really helpful to her family. She would go out to her brother's farm pretty frequently and help him when he needed assistance out there. Um, so in March 1866, that's what she did. So her brother lost his domestic servant, and so she went out there to his farm, Mount Stewart Farm, to help him in the house. Oh, and I have a picture of the house. One moment, please. Just so you can see get a little visual. Maybe I can drag and drop it.
Or
And
copy and
let's
paste.
send it. Did that send? There it
Oh,
is. Okay.
wow. That's a lovely little cottage.
Right? It's really pretty. Okay. So she goes there to help out her brother after his domestic servant is let go. So, about 3 days after her arrival to the farm, it's Friday, March 30th, and William leaves at about 10:30 in the morning to go to a market in Perth. He returns around 7 p.m. that evening, and he finds the kitchen door locked. So, he climbs through an upstairs window to get inside. When inside, he finds Janet's body in the kitchen, and it's a really gruesome crime scene. She's laying in a pool of blood with her arms outstretched, and she has been hit with an axe multiple times. So
Good God.
she's got wounds to her head and right behind her right ear. And at the crime scene, they did find some bloody footprints in the kitchen floor and blood splattered like all over the walls. It was gnarly. The furniture in the kitchen was in disarray, so they believe there was a struggle. And then the murderer had covered her body with like bed linens, and it sounded like maybe also some clothing, maybe that was in the room where he pulled it from. And then the axe was found in the kitchen close to her body. So investigators, at that time, there's no like forensics, right? So all they have is eyewitness testimony to really go on. So they're going around, they're trying to question whoever they can. So they talked to a lady named Betsy Riley, who was a hawker, and I had to look that up because I was like, ooh, did she like raise hawks? Like something cool.
Or was she just like a champion spitter?
She just sold stuff.
Yeah, she sold things. So she was basically a traveling salesperson. Okay, so they talked to this Betsy lady, and Betsy says that around 11:30 a.m., she saw Janet outside speaking to a man. She said he was probably between 40s and 50s. He was unshaven. He was about 5'9". He had a slender build, and he was wearing a dark coat, a cap, and then gray pants. She described him as, quote, shabby but genteel. So investigators are having a hard time finding witnesses for this case. So they talked to her, but they're having a hard time with finding witnesses. Um, so they decide to put out a 100-pound reward for anybody that comes forward with information. So in enters William Henderson's former house servant, Christina Miller. Now, this is like 8 months after the murder. When they decide to put that 100-pound reward out, it's like 8 months later because they have been searching for a while and they've got like no leads, right? So Christina Miller comes in it's like Christmas time, right? The murder was in March. So she comes in Christmas time and she's like, "Okay, here's my story. I got some tea for you," right? So she says she was fired. William fired her. Um, Janet's brother, right? William Henderson. So William fires her, and so she goes to stay with a plowman named John Crichton and his wife. They also refer to him as James, so I guess he went by either John or James. Anyway, so she goes to stay with the Crichtons after she's fired. And she says 2 days after the murder, she overheard John Crichton confessing to killing Janet.
Okay.
Yeah. So this statement by Christina Miller and then Betsy Riley's description of the man that she saw with Janet that day gives them enough quote unquote reason, I don't know, to arrest John Crichton.
All right. That was a great episode. End of the story. So
That's
you
it.
guys,
Bye.
we found out. We got him. Crime solved.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about John Crichton. Why the hell would he want to murder this random woman? So Janet was known for being kind of known no nonsense. So theories were kind of running around that. And that's kind of the theme here is it's gossip, it's like rumor mill stuff. It's not evidence at all, okay? So they kind of came up with some theories about John and Janet. So Janet was a strong-willed woman. She was no nonsense. So they thought, well, maybe she scolded John about some behavior or like work performance around the farm, and it pissed him off so bad that he killed her in like an angry fit. That's a pretty major angry fit over a work dispute.
Say, that's pretty damn intense.
Yeah. Okay, so something to note about the murder, because of the brutality of the attack, it seemed to investigators that it was not premeditated, but like a passion fueled, yeah, spur
Spur
of the
moment. Yeah,
Mhm.
just
And
explosion.
then, yeah, there was kind of like this oh shit moment and was like trying to cover up the body with whatever they could find, right?
You're standing there like after you've hacked her up 40 times, then you come to your senses like, oh shit.
What am
have
I
I
gonna do
done?
now?
I gotta go find some stuff to cover her up.
Yeah. So that's a pretty weak motive though, and nobody ever knew if they even ever argued. So it was like they were just kind of throwing things out to see what stuck. Another theory is that there was a possible robbery. So they posited that possibly a robber broke in and Janet caught them. And then if she recognized them, the robber may have killed her hastily to cover up the robbery crime. So he committed a bigger crime to cover up a smaller crime. This is a pretty weak theory motive too, because there was no evidence of a robbery. But William Henderson at some point tells investigators that he believed that John Crichton broke into his house weeks before the murder and that he came back but was interrupted by Janet, so he killed her. So it sounds like to me that William is the one that put this idea into investigators' heads, right? Like there was a robbery and this guy did it. Um, some people believed that the crime was sexually motivated, but this theory was thrown out really quickly because there was no evidence to support any sort of sexual assault or anything like that. Um, and then the other possibility is that John Christian just did not have any motive at all and was scapegoated because he was like kind of an outsider. Like people just weren't really digging him. Anyway, so he's arrested, right? They go to trial. The trial takes place at Perth Sheriff Court on April 1867, so about a year after the murder.
So I'm guessing he's saying he's innocent this whole time.
Yeah. He says that he's like never talked to her. He doesn't know her, like never interacted with her. Okay, so prosecution comes in with their case. And again, they're kind of throwing a bunch of stuff out, right? So they bring in Betsy Riley, Betsy Riley's testimony, but there were some concerns about her credibility. So at one point, she does admit that her eyesight is not very good. And then they also thought that she potentially fabricated the sighting altogether for a reward. But despite that, they still brought her forward to testify in court. Let's talk about Betsy Riley. So, as a hawker, she would have been considered an outsider in the community. And also a lot of the times they were like of Irish descent or like Romani, like a lot of them weren't even from that Scotland. So they were super outsider for the community. And so if Betsy Riley fit into that category, she would have been like kind of a marginalized group and nobody would have trusted her just outright because of that. So, okay, one of the other pieces of evidence that they bring forth in trial, at the crime scene, they found fragments of a pipe underneath that bedding that was like the covers and so the bedding, the linens and stuff that were covering Janet's body. They found like a broken pipe. So they find these like pipe fragments underneath the bedding that Janet is covered in, like in her blood and stuff. All right. So investigators said that Crichton had that day gone and bought tobacco and possibly a new pipe in Perth after the murder.
Gotta have a new
However,
pipe.
What was that?
I say you gotta get a new pipe. Gotta have that pipe. That's right.
Got to. If it breaks in that axe murder you committed, you gotta replace it.
Like, damn it. I'm already having a shite day, that I just broke my pipe. Sorry, Janet.
Don't pipe an axe, kids.
Oh
Guess
my
you could
gosh,
say,
was it like in his mouth when he was like,
wow.
"Sorry?"
I guess you could say he was piping mad.
He just gritted his teeth so hard that it snapped
Just like,
the pipe.
and then just like, click, shite. Look what you made me do,
Okay.
Janet.
But when he was asked if he smoked, Christian said, I don't smoke, bro. So
That's
people
an
thought he
exact
was
quote.
lying to cover his tracks. Huh?
He just blows bubbles out of it.
That was an exact quote.
Yeah, it was. You know how I like to do the true quotes.
I don't smoke, bro.
Smoking's for losers, brah.
Actually,
Okay.
I think they would say like, bruv. Like, no, that's England. Like, I don't even smoke, bruv.
I think he just started flossing and everyone was confused.
Okay. Okay, so then of course they brought forward Christina Miller, the former house servant, who 8 months after the fact came in and said, yeah, I heard him with my own ear holes say that he killed Janet. He said that with his mouth hole.
Mouth hole.
But people questioned her credibility because she came out after the reward and 8 months later, right? Like they're like, okay, so if you heard this 2 days after the murder, why the fuck did you wait 8 months to say something? And then they become a little bit suspicious of her because of this. Anyway, since there's no like DNA, there's no fingerprints, they're not doing stuff like that. Probably a million people had walked through the crime scene. You know how it was in the 1800s. People just walking through crime scenes. Um, all the evidence they had was completely circumstantial, and there wasn't really anything that was conclusive linking Christian to this murder. So, the jury, after 2 days of trial, the jury deliberates for all of 12 minutes and they come back and they find him, they issue a verdict of not proven. So, they're saying they are not saying if he's innocent or not. They're just saying you don't have enough to convict this man of this crime, which is fair because they don't. So no one is ever charged with her murder. But the rumor mill is still doing its thing. So here's some other juicy tidbits.
Juicy,
Okay.
like cowboys.
So, around the time that they arrest John Christian, they had actually also taken into custody William Henderson, Janet's brother, and Christina Miller, the house servant or former house servant. Before they decide John Christian's going to be the fall guy, right? So William Henderson, why did they take him into the custody?
I like that this is turning into a game of Clue.
Yeah, you know how we do it on these true crime ones. Okay, so why did they suspect William? Well, when I was first reading about this, I was like, why didn't William go try any of the other doors? Because what I had initially read, it was like he tried the kitchen door and then straight to an upstairs window. I was like, why the fuck would you go straight to an upstairs window?
Or even if
and you
it's
see the picture, it's like a huge house.
Like, what? Like the woman would be anywhere else in the kitchen because it was the 1800s. And it's like that.
I mean, that might. Well, then why wouldn't you just knock? Be like, open that fucking door, Janet. I'm trying to get in. Like, there's no
Yeah,
mention of him
okay.
knocking or trying to get her attention.
Right. So from the first stuff that I read, they didn't really mention any of that. So the thing is that he says that he did actually try all the doors and he tried all like the downstairs windows. He tried knocking. The house was dark, so he was getting worried for his sister because she's supposed to be there. So he did try all the doors and then made his way up to an upstairs window because the downstairs windows were all shuttered and locked as well. Okay, so that's good. But investigators were like, okay, but why? So you break in through the upstairs window. Why did you go directly to the kitchen?
What's like James said, where else are you gonna find the woman?
Yes, exactly.
Back
That really was
then.
his thought process.
I mean, back then, listeners, I have full respect for women, and their place is not the kitchen. Their place is wherever the fuck they want it to be.
I like women.
They're amazing.
Okay. So they questioned that though, because they were like, do you know something? Did you know something was wrong with her? Did you know she was dead in the kitchen? You just went right there. So that was one of the reasons they picked him up. Okay. When I was reading a newspaper article, a more modern one, it was like from 2012, let me go back up to my sources here. It's the Courier Advertiser, Perth and Perthshire edition. Okay, so they did an article about this case, and they talked to a guy, a criminology like senior lecturer at Abertay University. So his name is Dr. Graham, and he like went through all the files and stuff. And he says of all the doors and windows being locked in that situation, right? So he says burglars and murderers don't tend to be so careful. First of all, if it was a random burglar who came across the lady and killed her, would he be likely to start covering her up with a blanket and then lock all the doors and windows before leaving? How did he get out if everything was locked up? That doesn't tend to add up in my mind. There are very few random killings by strangers. So this modern guy, Dr. Graham, tends to believe that William Henderson he's throwing red flags. He's not saying he's definitely the killer, but he's throwing some major red flags. And like, if this were a case now, he probably would have been the prime suspect. Well, in any case, William was never charged. He was released from holding. Um, and there could have been perfectly good reasons for all these other things playing out, whatever, right? Even Janet's own husband believed that William was innocent. Um, okay. So Christina Miller, the previous house servant, she was taken into custody too. Why was she suspicious? Well, we already talked about like she came out 8 months later and said, "Oh, I heard this dude confess right after the murder, but never reported it." Why would you do that? Why'd
I
you wait so long?
mean, I didn't think it was important.
She's like, I don't know, sometimes you just talk shit. I didn't think it was like meant anything. Okay. Some people speculated that she may have had a grudge against the Henderson family or even Janet herself. And I was like, why would they have a grudge? Why would she have a grudge against Janet? And so I guess the rumor mill was kind of thinking Janet, had come to help with the house, and maybe she played some sort of role in Christina being fired. And so Christina kind of like lost her shit and killed her for that reason. Or maybe Christina had done something risque to get herself fired and a little tawdry, little naughty Christina.
Didn't
So
that get you a raise?
do what?
Didn't that get you a raise?
Should. Nowadays it would. Well, if Janet knew, then maybe she tried to silence Janet. But this is all like kind of unlikely because Janet did not come until like a week after the girl was already fired. So it's really unlikely that she even had anything to do with her being let go.
But it's still kind of interesting how she's the one making this claim.
Yes. Yes, and that's the next point that I have here in my notes. So the fact that Christina came forward 8 months later to accuse John Crichton, people felt that it kind of suggested that she was like inserting herself into the case to redirect suspicion toward him, like affirm that so he goes down for it. So they felt like maybe she did have something to do with it, like some sort of admission of guilt, or maybe she knew more and she wanted to protect somebody, something like that.
Maybe she's just being proactive. It's like, I know I didn't do it, but I don't even want to be in this case and risk it. So I'm just going to point to this guy.
Just in cases. So other people, of course, thought, well, maybe she just wanted the money. Like, which actually seems really like the likely outcome. She wanted money. She had been let go. Like she has no fucking work. She's homeless.
Yes, I think I've actually already solved this crime.
He already knows. Okay, we'll keep it together till the end, Dr. Detective Chris, and then tell us who really did it.
You're now Dr. Detective Chris.
Dr. Detective Chris Tripp.
Hello there. I'm the Doctor Detective.
Okay, and then let's see. Oh, they thought, well, maybe she wanted revenge on John Crichton. And they're like, I don't know. It was like random theories floating around at this point. Like they were like, maybe he was harassing her, maybe he rejected her. I don't know. It was just like it starts to sound like kind of just shit they're throwing at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah, the investigators are just at this point reclining in their office, just throwing darts at a board that with random things written on it.
Yes.
They decide.
Just like all the post-it notes just have question marks. They're just like,
Yes.
but one says spaghetti. I don't know. Okay. But investigators thought, well, she was a former servant. She knew of the household. She knew the layout. She also had been fired, so she might be angry. She knew the routines of anybody that would have been coming and going. And there was some speculation that she returned to the house the day of that murder, but that was never proven. So again, it just seems like rumor mill stuff, like people are just gossiping. There was speculation, though, that she had been involved in a love triangle with, there's Chris's face, with John Crichton and William Henderson, which
Oh, yeah,
somehow that transpired to her being terminated. And
somehow.
somehow. And it was said of William, though, that he had gone through a number of house servants, and they claimed that he was overly familiar with the servants. So that may be why Janet was having to come out there all the time and help him because he kept going through sexually harassing these house servants. But
Really, the root problem here is polyamory hadn't been invented fast enough yet.
I know, yeah, that would have fixed everything. Well, anyway, all that speculation, gossip. So Christina is never officially charged. Um, her really ill-timed testimony regarding John Crichton was used by investigators in their case against him and wasn't seen by them as suspicious on her part, really. All right. And I told you this be short. So here's some aftermath here. So after the murder, William Henderson, her brother, his behavior changes. He becomes withdrawn, he's paranoid, and later he is committed to an asylum in Perth. Some people speculated that he went mad from guilt, because he killed his sister, or he knew something about the murder, like more than he was letting on. Um, but there's no known reason why he would cover for someone, and there was really no motive for him to kill her. He wouldn't have gotten anything, like there was no financial benefit, and actually she was helping him so frequently that it would have caused him hardship. So Chris Patton, he is a descendant of the Henderson family. And he wrote a book on the murder of Janet Rogers called The Mount Stewart Murder. And in it, he says William was convinced that John Crichton had killed his sister, and his inability to prove it is likely what drove him to madness. Um, what happened to John Crichton? After the verdict of not proven, he moved with his family to another town, like set up a new life, right? Became a laborer, until his death by gangrene in 1894. Janet's murder is still unsolved.
It smelled a little bit like walnuts.
Oh, that's gruesome. All right, Detective Chris, who murdered Janet Rogers?
Well,
And-
what?
Everybody, all of them did.
All of them.
It
All
was
of
The love triangle.
No, Watson. Allow me to explain the entire situation. You are right, it was John Crichton. John Crichton did murder Janet Rogers, but he did so because he was influenced by Miss Christina Miller. Case in point, Christina Miller was having an affair with John Crichton. She used him, manipulated him, in order to use him as a weapon of revenge against... What was the brother's name again?
William.
William! God, I'm a terrible detective. I don't have time. My brain is too brilliant. I can't keep names. William, a known womanizer, used his advances against Miss Miller. She said no, and he retaliated by terminating her employment. So she used her love triangle, because of what kind of family takes in another woman? No, this was more than that. John and Christina were lovers, but not so much that they were in love. John was in love, but Miss Miller was not. He was simply a tool to help her advance her career, or advance her place. But eventually, he got it in his head that they would be in love and they'd be together, which she didn't want. Around 8 months, that's the typical time that a relationship usually reaches its termination date, and therefore that is when she went to the police to tell them, in fact, he did it, he's guilty. Case solved.
Oh my God, Detective Tripp, you've done it again.
It's elementary, my dear. It's elementary.
Murder solved. That's crazy. That's a really good theory. I am on board with that one. You convinced me.
I would say, in all seriousness, yes, I do think that's kind of probably what happened. It's very peculiar, the fact that she would come, 8 months or not, that suddenly she would come forward and say that he's the one that actually killed her. That states to me that she knew, and she knew prior, but 8 months, why 8 months? Why would she wait 8 months? Perhaps they had a falling out, perhaps He wanted more. She wasn't ready to give it. She saw a way to get rid of him finally, but she
Yeah,
used him. But I think she probably used him. She
that's
used him
good
as a
thinking.
course of revenge against the man who fired her because she wouldn't sleep with him.
One other thing that I forgot to put in here is that they say that she wanted that 100 pounds because she wanted to escape to America. She had been planning to move to America.
Ah, then there you go. And of course, the guilt that John was feeling guilty, and William was feeling guilty because he knew that Christina was the one who sent John to kill his sister for revenge for what he did. And I imagine this descendant, Mr. Patton, is probably correct that John kind of went mad almost because, you know, he couldn't prove it, but he knew because, yeah, because it was revenge. It was Christina revenge for because he also went guilty. He probably, I can't talk straight. He probably also went mad with guilt because he blamed himself because he knew it was he caused it by doing this to Christina in the first place. But it's also the axe murders, that
Well,
kind of
obviously, it's
that
actually their
kind
fault.
yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of brutality, that's crime of passion. That's somebody who's furious, who's angry. But I mean, not to be, I don't know, sexist, but a woman of the 19th century is not going to inflict wounds on that nature, I feel, that brutal, just because, I mean, Christina's not going to really care that much about Janet.
Hmm.
But if John comes there thinking I'm going to kill William, but instead he finds Janet and he has all that rage and anger, he's got to point it towards somewhere, and she's the only one that's there. So
Yeah, and I think like when you cover a body like that, that show doesn't that indicate
remorse.
guilt? Yeah.
Yeah. Also, that's remorse and realizing what you've done after your head is
Mhm.
cleared and your blood is now pumping more normally and the adrenaline's gone, and suddenly the horror of your actions are suddenly there, and you realize, oh my God, I just murdered somebody.
Mhm.
So that to me is covering up the body in a way, because it's not in a way that it's going to hide the body, but that says to me that it's an action of you're trying to cover up the deed to yourself. You're trying to pretend that it's not there. Like, if I wash it away, if I cover it up, if I just put some things, it didn't really happen. It's actually a form of denial,
Mhm.
something that a scorned lover would feel after he murdered an innocent person just out of rage.
Yeah. And my like I think also when you do that too, it's like it's remorse, but also like you don't want people to see the body in such a disfigured state, like for that person's memory kind of too.
Perhaps. I think it's just more to do with the fact of you're trying to shield away your own guilt and horror. And you're
Yeah.
not so much thinking of other people, you're thinking of yourself. It's just like, it's a moment of panic where it's like, if you feel like I can just, it's just like a way of trying to undo it, but you can't.
Mhm. Yeah, and like you said, we don't typically go for those kinds of gruesome murders.
No.
So if it had been a woman, it probably would have been more like poisoning or something a little more distant, not that
Yeah.
kind of gross
Yeah.
action.
That kind of murder, it's incredibly emotional, incredibly intense. That's fury, that's anger. And I'm not saying that Christina Miller couldn't have done, committed that type of atrocity, but that doesn't really add up, you know? Christina Miller is not going to go there and have that kind of rage just because she got fired. That
Hmm.
kind of rage, that kind of brutality comes from a heart scorned, comes from just an intense fury. And that often says to me, love, because there's nothing that can drive people to madness quicker than love.
So my everyone did it theory includes him. Therefore, worst case scenario, I'm only partially wrong. So maybe I was the greatest detective all along.
Oh my God. James will take credit. I
Sure
love
you were,
it.
old boy.
Called
Sure you
casting a
were.
wide net, folks.
Eh.
It gets results, is what it gets.
You're the Watson. I'm the Sherlock. Okay? Okay.
Good job, Christopher. Wait, who does that make me?
Irene Adler?
Also, Watson.
I'll take
Huh?
it.
We are collectively Watson.
Mrs.
Can I
Hudson.
be, I want to be Moriarty.
No! My friend, I love you. You could be Mrs. Hudson. She was always sort of like that. She was that lady that she was a housekeeper.
Irene Adler is cooler.
Yeah,
I'll be
Irene
honest.
Adler. Now, see, because Irene Adler, she was always you know what? Because she was always the woman that beat Sherlock. And you beat me
Just saying,
many
Sherlock can
times.
have 2
I
Watsons.
haven't beat you yet.
Half a Watson.
What? You're
We can
half.
each be half.
You could both be my Watson. I don't know. That's fine too.
Um, Well, fun fact. So Chris Patton, the descendant of this family, he found this because he was doing genealogical research into his family and just like stumbled upon her death certificate.
Oh,
And
cool.
it wasn't like super clear what happened, but an axe was mentioned. He was like, "What the fuck?" And so he got this really crazy tale after he did a bunch of research into it. I'm like, that's crazy to do. Like, so for all you genealogy lovers, you know, you might find something juicy in your
Go solve some murders.
past.
You know what I found in my genealogy?
Hmm.
Sham Ferguson. Our listeners are like, who's Champ Ferguson? Well, I'll tell you. I'm Champ Ferguson.
So
No.
am I.
Nah.
One of his many alter egos.
His name was Champion Ferguson. And I just happened to be with James when I discovered this. And I was like, I looked at James and he looked and I said, one of my ancestors was Champ Ferguson. And James got that look in his eyes. And we both knew the ultimate character was created right there for us.
So, join our Patreon. You get Discord access. And with Discord access is access to our Final Fantasy XIV guild, where Chris's character is indeed Champ Ferguson.
You can play Final Fantasy with Champ Ferguson.
That's right.
Just be prepared because Champ Ferguson, he makes a lot of inappropriate comments.
Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Yes, if you like this episode, please like, share. If you have a story of your own, we would love it if you guys would email us your story at info@littlepodcastofhorrors.com. Hey, Chris Patton, if you're listening to this episode, email us. Or hey, come on the show. We can interview you, talk about your book. If you have any other kind of stories, people out there, if you have ghost stories, alien stories, cryptid stories, stories of the weird, strange, and unusual, share it with us, and we might try to read it on the show. Other
Now,
than
if
that,
it's not how you stubbed your toe, don't share that.
I mean, you
we-
can.
Spooky stories.
You can. We're not gonna read it on the show. We're gonna be like, oh, that's not what we were talking about. Delete.
That would be really funny if we just like compiled a bunch of stories about people's like toe stubbings and then read them in an episode as if they're spooky stories.
Now it could be you could like spin it to be like, so I was walking through my living room, right? Suddenly, I just stubbed the shit out of my toe. I mean, like, it was the worst fucking pain I've ever felt in my life, okay? So, that's just it, though. There was nothing there to stub my toe on.
Ghost couch.
It was a ghost cabinet.
All right. Bye, guys.
Toodaloo.